You can finally get a camera with the convenience of your smartphone and the image quality of a pro camera. But a good budget vlogging camera is very specialized, and each camera is made for a specific type of shooter. So figuring out the right camera for you can be pretty confusing. So in this video, I'm going to show you the best vlogging cameras for different shooting styles on a budget, plus a bonus camera that has features that no other vlogging camera has. And as always, I'll leave links down below for all the cameras we talk about today. Now, if you're looking for the lowest price possible for a good vlogging camera that's also really decent at photos without sacrificing quality or design, then you definitely want to check out the first camera on this list, and that is the Canon M50. When it came out, it was one of the most popular vlogging cameras out there, and lucky for us, it's also gone down in price. But this is just the first camera on this list, and there's other cameras later on that might be better for someone who wants a pocket-sized camera, or for someone that wants the best vlogging experience possible with a camera specifically designed for vloggers without breaking the bank, plus a bonus camera that has features that you simply will not see on any other vlogging camera. Now, back to the Canon M50, which is the first camera on this list. The M50 is a very small camera. It literally fits in the palm of your hand, but it's very well built. It's made of really hard plastic, and it can definitely survive a bit of abuse. Plus, it has a nice grip with a rubber finish for an extra bit of grip, and it also makes the camera feel really premium in your hands. And both the button layout and menus in this camera are super simple and very beginner friendly, which is something Canon cameras are known for. Plus, it also has a side articulating screen which is 100% touch sensitive, so not only can you use it for touch autofocus, but you can also use it to navigate all of your major settings like shutter, aperture, ISO, and your menus as well. It has a very similar feeling to a smartphone. And speaking of smartphones, you can also wirelessly connect this camera to your smartphone and use it as a wireless remote to not only change your settings, your autofocus, but also get a live view of whatever your camera sees like a wireless monitor. Plus, it also has an electronic viewfinder and built-in flash. Even though this is a vlogging camera, you're going to be able to take photos with this just fine. The internal audio in this camera is decent enough for most casual use. But if you're really serious about your vlogs, you can plug in an external microphone into this camera to get the best possible audio. One important thing about the Canon M50 is that it uses the older Canon M mount, which is actually a good thing. The Canon M mount has a really wide range of lenses available for it, and because it's an older lens mount, these lenses are also pretty affordable. So you can easily get any lens you want for this camera without breaking the bank. And inside the Canon M50, you have a 24 megapixel APS-C size sensor. This is plenty of resolution for both photos and videos, and this is a pretty typical sensor for this type of camera. But one thing that sets the Canon M50 apart is the stellar colors right out of camera, which is something Canon cameras are also known for. The colors are very true to life with a hit of vibrance and saturation, and these colors especially make skin tones and faces look really good, which is perfect for a vlogging camera. The autofocus in the M50 is also very solid. It's fast and reliable with intelligent face tracking and eye tracking. Though, depending on which version of the M50 you get, there's a Mark I and the Mark II, the M50 Mark II has slightly faster autofocus, about 30% faster, and the face and eye tracking is also more accurate. In terms of video, the Canon M50 has several shooting modes. In Full HD, you can shoot at 24 and 30 frames per second, which is exactly what most budget vloggers need. And you can also shoot 2x slow motion in Full HD at 60 frames per second. You also have 120 frames per second for 5x slow motion, but that is only in 720p, which is about half the resolution of Full HD. Now, the M50 can shoot 4K, but it's only in 24 frames per second, and it does come with a pretty heavy 1.6 times crop. For an extra $100 to $150, you can also get the Canon R50, which does have 4K at 24 and 30 frames per second. And the 4K is also downsampled from 6K, so you're really going to get 6K detail and clarity, but in a smaller 4K file. Also, the M50 is a really solid photo camera and can shoot as fast as 10 frames per second, where the R50 can also shoot slightly faster at 12 to 15 frames per second. You really can't go wrong with either camera. So if you want a great hybrid vlogging camera that's great at both photos and videos, the Canon M50 is a great choice, and also check out the slightly more expensive Canon R50. But the funny thing is, one of the best pocket-sized vlogging cameras out there is also one of the cheapest on the market, because this brand has aggressively cut prices to be cheaper and better than all of their competition, and that is the Sony ZV-1. And I'm not biased just because I'm wearing a Sony shirt. The physical design of this camera is perfect for on-the-go filming. It's obviously very small and pocket-sized, and it has a simple one button to switch between photo, video, and slow motion. There's no messy mode dial, and it also has two separate record buttons for photo and video. But the best part about this camera for on-the-go filming is that it also has a 3-capsule microphone built right in, which gives you very solid audio quality even in busy environments. And not only does this save you money by not having to buy yet another thing for your new camera, but by not having to add an external microphone to this camera always stays pocket size. But you can add a microphone to this camera if you want. However, because of that built-in microphone, this camera does not have an in-camera flash. However, I don't think that's a bad thing because this camera is also very good in low light, as you'll see later on. And it also has a side articulating screen which gives you 100% touch capabilities over this camera for touch autofocus, and the battery life on the ZV-1 is very solid considering it's such a small camera. You can pretty much get all day usage out of it using it on and off. But what really sets the ZV-1 apart is how good it looks. It has a 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor, which is pretty typical for a pocket vlogging camera, but this 20 megapixel sensor looks almost as good as a proper camera and better than most high-end smartphones. If I didn't tell you it was a pocket-sized camera, you probably couldn't tell the difference. And it also has a built-in 24 to 70mm lens. You can get both a wide shot and a tight shot in the same lens. And this lens also has a very fast aperture between f1.8 to f2.8, making it a very good low light lens, but it also helps give you more of that blurry background effect that you usually don't see on point-and-shoot pocket cameras. And the ZV-1 can also shoot 4K video at 24 and 30 frames per second, and you also have full HD slow motion at 60 frames per second for 2x slow motion and 120 frames per second for 5x slow motion, giving you pretty much anything you could ever need, not only as a vlogger, but also as a travel creator or just a social media creator in general. And the image quality from the ZV-1 is gorgeous, but you can also take your video a step further by using S-Log3 or the cinema profiles built into this camera to really color grade your video like a pro. However, I don't know if most vloggers really care to do that. And even though the ZV-1 is a vlogging camera, it's also shockingly good at photos. It can shoot photos as fast as 24 frames per second, which is as fast as video, making it impossible to miss your shot. You can also take 800 JPEGs in a row or 88 raw photos, meaning you can also shoot for a pretty long time with this camera, making it the perfect camera for action shots, travel photography, sports photography, and pretty much anything you want to shoot. So if you want a pocket-sized vlogging camera that's also a powerhouse when it comes to photos, the ZV-1 is a great option, and I also love the built-in lens on this camera. Now, I promise you guys a very unique bonus camera that is unlike any other vlogging camera, and that is the DJI Pocket Osmo 3. You're probably a little bit skeptical, but hang in there with me because this is a very unique camera. It has an 8 megapixel 1-inch sensor that looks just as good as any other proper point-and-shoot camera, and in some cases even better. Because of that 8 megapixel sensor, which might seem a little low resolution, this actually makes the DJI Pocket Osmo 3 really good when it comes to dynamic range, and you can shoot in any kind of tricky lighting conditions. And the DJI Pocket Osmo 3 is not only good in low light, but it even has a dedicated low light mode. And it even has log profiles built in, so if you want, you can take your videos a step further and do some serious color grading. And it's also 10-bit color, which is arguably better than even the ZV-1 or the Canon M50. But the most unique thing about this camera, besides the image quality, is the 3-axis gimbal stabilizer, which gives you 100% smooth footage, and you even have a joystick in the back that you can use to control where the gimbal is looking, so it's really more than just a camera. And the camera also has subject tracking not only for autofocus, but for the gimbal as well, where the gimbal will actually follow you as you move around. So it's kind of like having your own cameraman, and it lets you get way more interesting shots by having the camera follow you around instead of always having the camera in front of your face. And the Pocket Osmo 3 also has the best solution for audio. If you buy the Creator Combo, it also comes with a wireless lav microphone, which is the same lav that you find in the very expensive DJI Mic 2. So you pretty much get one of these at a very good price. And this is actually the same microphone that I'm currently using to record this audio right now, because this is also my main lav for YouTube. Another cool thing is that the Pocket Osmo can also record vertical or horizontal video in camera. In terms of frame rates, the Osmo can either record 4K or 3K vertical video at 24, 30, all the way to 60 frames per second, and even has a dedicated slow motion mode that gives you 4K at 120 frames per second or Full HD at 240 frames per second. This is pretty much giving you the same frame rates you would expect from a proper pro mirrorless camera. And it's really not that much bigger than a point and shoot. Now, most of you guys are probably going to be skeptical about a camera like this, but if you want to try something different and really step up your video and vlogging game, I highly recommend trying this camera out. Now, if you want the best possible vlogging experience with your camera while still staying on a budget, my personal favorite and the most popular vlogging camera out right now is the Sony ZV-E10. It's actually part of the same family of cameras as the Sony ZV-1 point-and-shoot cameras, so it actually has really great design for both vloggers and content creators. So it has the same one button to swap between photo, video, and slow motion, and it also has a built-in 3-capsule microphone, plus 2 separate record buttons for photo and video. It has a similar side articulating screen as well, but this camera only has touch autofocus and does not let you control all of your major settings through the touchscreen like the ZV-1 did. So you're mainly going to be using this camera with buttons, but it does have a pretty great button layout. But if you absolutely must have the touchscreen experience, you can also connect the ZV-10 to your smartphone using the Sony Creator app. And this not only gives you a wireless remote, but you can also wirelessly monitor your footage through your smartphone, and you kind of get the touchscreen experience through your phone. And the Sony smartphone app was recently updated, and right now Sony has the best smartphone app for your camera. And the ZV-E10 is also an interchangeable lens camera, meaning you can switch up the lenses on this camera, but it also has the Sony E-mount. And the Sony E-mount is a lot better than the Canon M-mount, not only in terms of lens selection, but also affordability. But the real magic of the ZV-10 is what's inside, because for the price point, it has some of the best specs. It has a 24 megapixel APS-C size sensor, which is similar resolution to most cameras in this price range. But the sensor is also very good in low light, and this is something most cameras in this price range don't have. And the Sony ZV-E10 also has tremendous autofocus, absolutely 10 out of 10. It's fast and it's reliable, and Sony cameras in general are known for having some of the best autofocusing in the industry. Plus, it also has face and eye tracking and perfect for someone that's vlogging. In terms of video, it shoots 4K at 24 and 30 frames per second, but it's also downsampled from 6K, giving you the quality of 6K video, but in a smaller, more manageable 4K file size. And it also shoots full HD at standard 24 and 30 frames per second, but also slow motion at 60 frames per second and 120 frames per second. And just like every other Sony camera, it also has S-Log3 and cinema profiles built in for serious color grading, but these modes also give you extended dynamic range. And one thing that often surprises people about the ZV-10 is that it's also a very good photo camera. It can shoot 10 frames per second with a very large frame buffer, not only making this a good social media camera, but you can also easily shoot action and sports with it. If you want a budget-friendly vlogging camera without having to sacrifice on specs, quality, or design, the ZV-E10 is without a doubt one of the best options for you, and it's also secretly a really good photo camera. And if you want to pick this camera up at the best price possible, make sure to check out the links in the description down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.